Today we're going to talk about the ComMarker B4, a 20-watt true fiber laser that's basically a business in a box. All right, so let's quickly go over some of the details, some of the specifications for the ComMarker B4. So this one is a very fast machine. This one will do 15,000 millimeters per second. Now that is across a 110 millimeter by 110 millimeter work area, and that is actually adjustable with a second lens that they include that will take you to 200 by 200 inches. Now when you make that change, if you make that change, you also increase the dot size. So you lose a little bit of resolution, you gain a little bit of a work area. I just ran it with the 110. Everything that I wanted to test was within that range, so it wasn't an issue. This one has a 0.01 millimeter advertised resolution. I mentioned the sizes to you as far as the work area. This unit will do a max depth. If you repeatedly did a job in metal, it'll do a max depth of 0.3 millimeters. Multi-material, so I tested things like copper, brass, steel, stainless steel, Inconel, zirconium, titanium, aluminum, raw aluminum, anodized aluminum, painted aluminum. I was throwing everything but the kitchen sink at the machine, and it did a fantastic job. We've got plastic, leather, PCB boards, a lot of different things, so that's awesome. This unit has portable mode, so I did a review some time ago of a not fiber laser, and it had kind of the same setup where you could mount this onto the unit. This kind of sets your focal distance, and you could use the handle that's on top, separate it from the base, go up and hold it up to something and mark it. That will absolutely work because I've proven that it can mark a lot of different materials very effectively. The challenge for you is going to be to hold it still while it's doing that job, and also protect yourself and everyone else that might be around from scattered laser light. So it is possible to use it in handheld mode. This is a 1064 nanometer wavelength. It will do gold and silver. I didn't have any gold and silver to test. It'll do stone, acrylic, aluminum, all kinds of different things. It says it'll even do painted wood. So this unit wonderfully works with light burn. You know how I like my light burn. In order to use light burn with this machine, I had to purchase an upgrade, so I had to add the Galvo license, which that's what this machine is. It's Galvo driven or mirror driven. I had to add that for $90. It literally took 5 minutes. Put in the pay information, it hits their server, it bounces me back an updated code. It says it could take 24 hours. I basically restarted the software and it started working just fine. So I did use this entirely with light burn. Now it does come with EasyCAD on one of the included thumb drives, and you can certainly use that. I have fought that fight back in the past with a different machine. And is it usable? Sure. Is it easy to use? Not exactly, but it will get the job done. So, you know, buyer beware. Light burn is such a low cost for entry, especially on a class of machine like this. The light burn cost is fairly small compared to this machine. We've got awesome accessories. Like this is one of 3 different rotaries that they offer. This one happens to be like a stepper motor with a chuck on it, and this one can be set up to either grab from the outside squeezing in, or it can push from the inside pushing out, so it can grab the inside or the outside diameter of something. They have one that's kind of a flat roller, like typically like you would see with LED based machines where you can do cups and things like that. And then they have another one that's more like almost like a lathe chuck for doing larger things, more oddly shaped things. So they also have an enclosure that you can get for this to kind of keep the laser light kind of contained. So lots of different accessories on the website. All right, so let's talk about the buttons on the front of the machine. There's not really much to talk about on the back. You've got your big fiber cable and power cable that goes to the head from the base. You've got that on the back. You've got your USB connection. You got your rotary connection. You've got your pedal connection, and then you've got a standard power plug on the back. On the front here, we have an e-stop. So this is a push to whoopsie, something's going wrong, and then when you need to reset it, you just turn it and it'll pop back out. It's kind of typical for machines. You've got your power on button, which I will do right now. The noise that you're listening is all fan noise, pretty much coming from the base. This is as loud as it gets. It's not unpleasant, it's not high pitched or anything like that, but you know it's on. You also have an up and a down button, which is kind of cool. So for the focus on this, you have 3 dots that are way too close together right now. And so as I take this out, you'll see those 3 dots kind of spread out. What you're trying to do is place the item that you want to mark. You lower it until those 3 dots meet, and then you are ready to mark. So you've got an up and a down. Now there is a handle up here that folds out, and you can manually focus it up and down. I didn't feel the need to do that. I was able to do everything I needed through the electronics. Now I will say that if you're using this, I would not do this quickly, because you are back driving a gear motor that's in the base, and if you get too crazy with that, you could end up damaging that motor. So I just used the buttons. It was more than adequate. On the top here, we have a button that turns off and on the focusing lasers, and then another button that actually executes the job, and that would be akin to using the pedal. Now, I set these up inside of Lightburn, and the process was very easy. There's lots of helpful documents out there on how to set this up, because once you've got it plugged in, you can actually see in Lightburn when you press this pedal, you'll see a sensor be triggered in the software. And then all you have to do is say, if the machine sees that trigger, you need to do this. And you can set that up for probably turning that light off or on, or running the job, or doing other things that are capable. It's almost like an I/O kind of thing where you can set custom macros, something sort of like that. But there's ways to set that up in the software, and it literally took me less than 5 minutes to find it online, set it up in Lightburn, and I was good to go from that point on. So that's kind of the way around the machine, and we'll move on to what I made with it. All right, so let me show you what I was able to do with the ComMarker B4, and there's just going to be like a random slideshow of the jobs running, or close-up pictures of the jobs, while I'm talking about some of the more interesting details of some of the things that I was able to do with the B4. So let me first start off with the toughest material that I have, which is this cross-section of a pipe, and this happens to be made out of Inconel, and extremely tough stuff. Now I have a mark on here from a previous test of a non-fiber laser, and it's there, you can read it, but it's very soft as far as visually. I did it with the ComMarker B4, and it just ate into it beautifully, and it's very rough. I can file my fingernail on it, it's so rough, and it's way darker than the other laser was able to do. So ComMarker B4 20 watt had no issue with that. I found this kind of line art from a coin, and I said, well, here, I've got a circular piece of stainless steel that came in the materials kit with the laser, so let's do that. So I just randomly did it in 2 passes, and that was too much because I put too much heat into the material. It's distorted on the back, it potato chipped it, and so I ran it again with 1 pass this time, and it came out much better. Still slight heat distortion, and maybe you can dial that back even further, but this would probably be acceptable. And so that turned out really, really nicely. I was able to do things that I had done on other machines. So as you can see on this one, it says X-Tool D1 40 watt. Now this was the D1 Pro, and this is just a black painted piece of extruded aluminum. And the D1 Pro just blasted the paint off of it. It didn't do anything to the material underneath the paint. The ComMarker B4 went through the paint and then into the material. So this is a very legible deep mark that's in here. Not as bright because it's not showing the shiny aluminum underneath, it's actually going into the aluminum. To kind of show that even further, same test on just a raw piece of bar stock, and the LED based laser just left a white mark, which is not easy to read. You can read it in the glare, but the ComMarker left an indelible mark that's in the material, so it's easier to read because it's more visually grabbing. So another thing I tried was this piece of angle iron, and this is just straight off the rack. It's not been cleaned at all. The ComMarker blew right through the slag and the crud that was on here and ate into the steel. So a very good mark with that. And we did some zirconium as well, and that turned out good. It's even deeper than the Inconel, which kind of makes sense. This is not near as tough of a material. So I also did this piece of titanium, and I've used this for a lot of different tests, but this time I was able to get different colors out of this material. And so the first test I set up was just the letter T and I for titanium, and I did 25%, 50%, 75, and 100. And so I did that in one pass, and I got a silver, a blue, kind of a gunmetal gray, and then just raw titanium color. So I did it in two passes. I got a shinier silver, a slightly lighter color blue, a darker gunmetal, and then it ate into the material with two passes the second time. So the one that looked the best was one pass, 50% power, and I got this nice royal blue that you'll see in the shot, and that just is neat. You could do a lot with that from images and graphics and text and stuff like that. So there's a lot of fun that can be had with the machine. I was able to cut circles in shim stock brass, 5 thousandths thick brass. I was able to cut a hole in this aluminum beverage can, put an image on the outside, put a QR code on the bottom. Was no match. An interesting one is plastic. In this case, less is more. The first image here, it's in there, it's bit into the material, but you can't really read it that well. I did it in two passes. The first pass looked great. The second pass looked like it erased what the first pass did from a color standpoint. The mark is still there, the etch is still there, but it took the color out of it. So I ran it one time, the second time, and that's the one that you can actually read. Same results with the phone charger, less is more. One last thing that I'll talk about is the usefulness of a machine like this around tools. So obviously you can mark tools, you can put your name on tools, but in this case I have a drill bit and it's hard to read what size it is. It's either too light, it either isn't marked at all, and I don't necessarily want to run around measuring every drill bit. And so I was able to put a 6.00 on this using one of the plastic printed V blocks, and that just is helpful to not have to go and either grab a magnifier and try to read it. You can just look at it and you're good to go. So a useful tool to have around, to be sure. All right, so let's talk pros and cons. So first, on the pro side, this unit is very compact. Even if you're using it in handheld mode, really this whole little area right here, which is like a foot by a foot and a half, is all you're giving up. And the height is less than 2 feet, so it's pretty small. So that's good. We have a decent work area, 110 by 110, which is roughly a little bit over 4 inches by 4 inches. But you can take that to 200 by 200 if you use the other optic that came with this particular system, and that'll give you 200 by 200. And if you're not doing very high resolution, that may be a perfect use option for you. This has a good accessory complement. We've got multiple types of rotaries that can be used. We've got an enclosure that is available on their website for kind of containing this whole thing, and that kind of would help from a safety aspect as well. The fact that you've got the foot pedal, don't get hung up on that just being a foot pedal. That's really just a switch, and so it could be a door switch, it could be a dead man switch, or some sort of other safety interlock. So you could have this system set up to be completely automatic, where you open the door, you put your part down, you shut the door, and it does the job, and then you just keep doing that. So there's a lot of ways to automate this, so that's good. The range of materials we were able to do with all the different types of metals that we threw at it. We threw plastic, leather, painted wood, all these kind of different things, so that's good. Fiber machines in general are usually for like serializing parts, customizing metal parts, things like that, and this will do that hands down. The quality of work that we got, you saw the detail in one of the aluminum cards that I did, so the quality is there, especially with the resolution. The fact that this works with the Lightburn software, which is very, very popular laser control software. Sure, it comes with EasyCAD, but EasyCAD's not as intuitive or easy to use, so having the Lightburn capability is great. The motorized up and down, I didn't know I would like that as much as I do, but I do. Made it focusing very easy. The focusing is already easy. You're just combining 3 dots. You're just moving the head up or down until those 3 dots turn into 1 dot, and that's all it took to focus it. The fixture table. So if you're doing repeatable jobs, if you're doing customized flask, customized keychains, and you're just trying to bang these out, being able to set up fixtures with this hole pattern on here will just make for more higher quality repeatable jobs, so that's always good. All right, so on to the cons, and this is kind of a weird one, but this awesome fixture bed that's on here with all these threaded holes, I can actually see down into the electronics compartment, and in a few of these holes you actually see wires behind it, and that's a little unsettling to me because I don't want to be screwing down a fixture or a fence and actually hurt something electronic that's underneath. To that same point, I don't want dust or metallic dust or small pieces getting down inside the electronics compartment. So I would love to see like another sheet of metal under this that kind of caps those holes off, or maybe this base was thicker and instead of these being through holes, they were blind holes. So that would just be a way to kind of prolong the lifetime of the machine, I think. So I'm going to say that the price is an issue. As tested, this was $24.99 with the rotary, and for a 20-watt laser 3 years ago, it wasn't anywhere close to that price. So the prices have come down, and this, I think the capabilities of this machine kind of speak for itself. This is kind of the entry level for fiber lasers, being 20 watts. And they go, I think they go all the way up to, like, in this class of machine, I think they go all the way up to maybe 60 watts. So I don't think the price is terrible, especially at that price point. If you're making lots of parts, I think you'd be able to make that back fairly quickly, especially if you're doing some high-end jobs, personalized customizations for individuals or something like that. So I don't think that price is terrible for what it's capable of doing. All right, so that's a wrap on the ComMarker B4 20-watt fiber laser engraver. I'd love to know what you think about it. Please leave those comments, questions, and suggestions down below. If you're a subscriber to the channel, thank you very much. If you're not, please consider. I've got lots more reviews on laser engravers, CNC-related items, 3D printers that are in the works currently, and I'd love to see you around again for one of those videos. If you would be so kind to leave me a thumbs up if you found this information useful or helpful, I would very much appreciate it. I would love to grow the channel, and any feedback on how to do that would be appreciated as well. If there's something I can do better, let me know. But anyway, I thank you for spending your time with me, and I look forward to seeing you again.